Welcome to Chennai International Centre's podcast on COVID-19 second wave unanswered questions. You are listening to the last episode in the series. Dr. Jaiprakash Mulil, India's top epidemiologist, is here to answer some of our questions on pandemic behavior, lifestyle corrections, and the way forward. Dr. Mulil, we see earnestness in people wanting to do all that is required at this point. Now, how can individuals and members of communities contribute? Besides the emphasized hygiene advice, are there other health measures, sanitation measures that we should be observing as a responsible society?
Well, everything works on a priority basis. I remember somebody asking me over an interview, washing hands, if I keep washing my hands, will my immunity improve? It won't. And I told him clearly, you'll have a clean hand, that's all. It doesn't affect your immunity with it. Immunity is what your body does with any pathogen that gets into you. That's a different thing. Now, from the point of view of a respiratory tract infection, the most important method of transfer is through person-to-person contact. You speak or cough or sneeze and it goes. And that is the method that in majority of corona cases, infection comes through that. Now, there are a lot of other possible mechanisms described. I won't repeat. But from a public health point of view, and I want to be very specific, do the least minimum that is important. For example, a dear friend of mine stopped buying newspaper because corona may come through that. Now, it's quite very difficult to imagine. Now, if you ask me, is it possible? Everything is possible under the stars. Is it probable? Highly improbable. So my argument in that, it is, you have to focus on the fewest things possible. Okay, so two things you have to be very careful. Masking and avoiding crowd. Now, these two put together gives you maximum protection. Hands, of course, because we have a habit of touching ourselves in the face and nose, it is important that you are conscious of it. If that is covered, okay, it is mostly safe. For example, aerosol in certain situations work, but otherwise, that's why I keep saying again and again. The ability to prevent corona infection is in your hands. You take care of yourself. You won't get corona. That is one important thing. Second thing is, if you have been infected, be confident that your T cells have won the battle won. Chances are you will. Don't be scared. I may get all the time. Because if you are actually got a corona infection, okay. Now, I can remember telling me, oh, my family is corona affected. Now, that is not an expression that I like. Many people get many viruses. Can I say I'm measles affected? I'm chicken pox affected? It doesn't mean anything. You got it, you overcame it, and then you have lasting immunity. Corona is similar to that. Don't go by exception, but by and large, this is safe in terms of long-term immunity. So, in terms of other methods of protection, now, I suppose you can wear one of those gear and walk around everywhere with this full covered spacesuit kind of thing. But that is not practical. Just the mask, well-used mask, a good mask, such a long way in preventing individual infection.
Now, we all know how important schools are for children. No amount of virtual learning can substitute their experience in school. Now, how should the school's reopening be planned? And it probably may be too early for us to discuss this now, but it would be interesting to understand how it should be planned in the long term.
When you expect, if you have studied old pandemics and things like that, truly, this whole thing has been prolonged. and prolong the call, we try to block it, which is nice. Otherwise, we get all this kind of a flare up and then crowding of hospitals and running out of oxygen. So that slowing down has been nice. We flattened it quite well, that way I say. But now it's climbed up and it will soon come down. Now, it's very difficult for you to believe when I tell you, when the thing disappears, it will be very, very clear. Okay? Not the long, slow fall we want. It will be quite rapid. And everybody will know this is a new era. So you won't need any signals, and you will all know that thing is a thing of past. It may come again in future when there is adequate number of susceptible building. And you know how susceptible building? New children being born. So that will not be soon. It will take a long time to go. But we have to monitor the immune status. We have to see whether people in the age group 40th birthday or 45th birthday would be a day of getting a shot if you think that is the right thing. So otherwise, in the case of children, they have shown remarkable resistance to the virus so far. So the schools, I have a feeling, is more of a danger to the teachers than children themselves. Okay? So I am not concerned about it. I think schools are so important for children's growth and development. When to open is a difficult question, that we agree. But I told you that the end of the epidemic will be quite clear. Now, look at after the vaccination program in Israel, they have actually started celebrating because the number of actual wild cases have come down. So if our vaccination program is successful, very soon we'll find that the coronavirus. Now remember, some states are gone up, say Maharashtra, and coming down. Tamil Nadu is already started flat, and Assam is going up. So this game will go on for some time between states. But I hope we can all celebrate together someday. And the first thing I will want open is after vaccinating school teachers, school children to come to school. That would be the easiest solution for their problem.
Since you speak about the previous pandemics, what lessons can we take from there? How should schools and communities reorient behavior in future? And most importantly, how can we all help?
I don't know how to answer your question. In a way, we have failed as a community. I mean, first of all, there was many patients were treated badly. I mean, they came out of the hospital after getting cured. They lost the houses. The disease turned out to be a stigmatizing disease. Now, that is not a good thing in a society. And that shows that our lack of proper communication and health education. Instead of saying that congratulations, you have been fought. So the disease itself acquired a poor name. Treatment of many of the urban slum areas were not decent. They were practically thought of as a disease bringers and isolated to some extent. They lost their livelihood. It was difficult for them. I think we should revisit these all issues, how we behave, okay, including the fact there was this oxygen storage. Why did it happen? I think we should realize that when you are in a difficult situation, we are all in it together, and without each one supporting the other, just looking after oneself is not a good philosophy. And I think we have been exposed to too much parochial politics and, take care of oneself and take care of this hospital is only for this district philosophy. All the having negative images of our society in terms of fighting pandemic. And I hope in my lifetime I don't see one more affecting India. It's quite tough to deal with that kind of a response. There are exemplary examples in many parts where people have reached out and helped others. But we in general, I think, fail.
Now that we are here, how do you think we could prepare better for the future to mount a global response in a much faster manner in case of similar or worse pandemics?
First of all, good information always helps. Good information in terms, and I don't understand how very often we all got some sort of garbage information in the beginning and frightening news about deaths, which can turn out to be true. So I hope that we will have an audit on everything that happened, including how the virus escaped from China, okay, and the follow-up action by national and international organizations, how to deal with it. We have to go through an audit and ask questions to ourselves, can we do better the next time? And there are so many questions, and it's difficult to explain now, but both scientific and sociological issues related to the pandemic. And I think that is going to be an exercise that we need to indulge in without hesitation.
One last question, Dr. Mollel, before we let you go, and this comes from a space of wishful thinking from our listeners. The question that many of them have asked is if we can really go back to our behavior in public pre-COVID. Is it possible at all?
Now, the mortality rate of COVID is extremely low. The number of deaths you see is because a huge number of infected simultaneously. There are many other diseases which are more killing than COVID. COVID is very low mortality. In fact, the mortality of COVID is less than, it's about 1 per 2,500 infected. 1 per 2,500 infected, or 4 per 10,000. And all that, 80% almost is in the older age group. So you take that picture, create that narrative, and no one will be scared of living with COVID virus hanging around them, because it is not that dangerous a virus. But the problem is, when a whole country is engulfed in this, and there's an attempt even to nationalize COVID, I think, by making sure everything is controlled by the government, which is not the way to deal with it. Just let it be. Doctors and nurses know how to look after. I don't think we will keep continuing to have this mask around anymore. There are many viruses which is transmitted through respiratory infection. We don't keep masks for every one of them. COVID mortality is 4 per 10,000. That's what I said, no? And of which 4 per 10,000, 80% is in the 60 plus age group. Now think of that. It is not that bad a disease. So your hope for living normally will materialize in the near future.
That was episode 5, the last in the series. On behalf of Chennai International Center and all our listeners, we extend a big thanks to you, Dr. Mollel, for being here and patiently addressing the questions. Together and with the power of collective actions and hope, we pray for everyone to cross this phase and emerge stronger. Thank you for joining in this episode of Chennai International Center's podcast. Please be sure to share this on digital media or anywhere else. This podcast can be accessed on Chennai International Center's website, www.cic.in. Stay tuned for our next topic of discussion, and please subscribe to our YouTube channel and Twitter handle for more updates.